myself again.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Reid. That is Friday night, which means it's Fab 4 night. And as always, I'm joined by Keith Patterson, Steve Hasty, and birthday boy, Neil Mitchell. Happy birthday, Neil.
Thank you.
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. And before we get into our usual Fab 4 fun, I do have an apology to issue on behalf of the show. I had a couple of emails this week, which did really disturb me because obviously we hate to think we offend anybody on this platform. And it was with regards to last Friday's show. Last Friday, you will remember, it was the Takeover special. We were all on and we were joined by numerous guests, including Al Walid from Saudi Arabia. Now, with regards to Al Walid, he does have his own platform, one which I was on last night with Supermac, had a great show. And as for his show last week, there was a Freudian slip, a slip of the tongue, call it what you will, where he mentioned a particular word. And unfortunately, there was a few jokes exchanged on Al Walid's platform. That obviously then followed Al Walid onto this platform last Friday. And from our perspective, we didn't address that last week, and we should have done. It was one of our nights where obviously we were all celebrating the takeover. And from my perspective, I will apologise to anybody that offended. I'm not going to go over the conversation. I'm not going to go over the word. But from our perspective, we will issue an apology to anyone that particular word offended. Okay, there is no room for discrimination, no room for racism, no room for homophobia, and no room for hatred or bigoted behaviour. There is no room for such abuse on a social media, nor St James's Park or at the pub, not anywhere. Together, we can all do more to make a positive impact. We must all come together to be respectful of each other and to promote the message of unity. So, if you see discrimination, challenge it, report it, and change it. And that is a statement, if you remember, from United with Pride, which was issued alongside the Supporters Trust, which I read out on this show on a couple of occasions a few weeks ago. And from my perspective, I just want to reiterate that. I have had a good chat with Ian from United with Pride today. I did flag this up because I did notice it was getting mentioned on social media and on Twitter this week. And for me, again, all I can say on behalf of NUFC Matters is we certainly do not endorse that kind of comment, and we apologise, and we hope that puts the matter to rest. Also emailed Ian, haven't yet had a response, but we did speak on the phone, and I hope that sincere apology is accepted as of now. So thank you for listening to that, and let's get on to football, lads. And from my perspective, it's been, that is the week that was, Keith, where it's after the Lord Mayor's show. We were a week into the new ownership, and I guess we all look ahead to the Spurs game, and I think we would be daft on this platform if we didn't start tonight with the big news that Steve Bruce is still manager of Newcastle United. Does that surprise you, Keith?
If you'd asked us that on the day of the takeover, I'd have been surprised, because I think it's a poorly kept secret that he's not the future of the football club. That said, I've had good mates, really good mates, come on to us this week and say it's going to spoil Sunday if he's there. And so I've gone back to them and said, it's going to spoil it, is it? I said, so if somebody asked you last week, we'll get a takeover done, but you're going to have to keep Steve Bruce a month, would you took the deal? He said, yeah, I would. And I said, so if you got the choice of keep Bruce for 2 weeks, but Mike Ashley would leave last week, yeah, I'd have done that. I said, so really, it's only going to spoil it if you let it. So for me, I said to you last week that we now supporters, all of us, we're just all single supporting fans. And all we can do now is support what they do. And there is one thing you can guarantee, these people will make mistakes. But they are so diligent and they're so keen and so hungry to get this right. I don't think they'll make the same mistake twice. And that's the judge of a good business person. That's a judge of a good leader. And I'm sure that the people we've got at the club now will lead us to a different land, a different place. And what you should do is not worry about things that you don't control. You just accept that those people probably share the similar opinion of you about who should stay and who should go. But rather than castrate somebody when he's clearly in the departure lounge at Newcastle, just let it happen, let it go. Go to the match on Sunday with 2 choices. Do I let Steve Bruce spoil my day, or do I enjoy it? And what I would say is take the latter. And you know, if Steve Bruce gets his 1,000th game at Newcastle, would you rather he had 999 games at Newcastle, we got beat 5-0 of Tottenham, or would you rather he had 1,000 and we beat Tottenham 3-0? So just put it in perspective, because you know we all want the same things. And the people say to me, which manager you want? I say whichever one they pick. But these people have got hellish challenges. You know, they've got a full staff at the club, a lot of good people in there. They've got to assess. And they've got to go forward. So for me, Steve Bruce is one of them people. If there was a ready-made manager, let's suppose Benitez hadn't took the Everton job, I think it would have been a different argument. I think they'd have brought Rafa in literally within a day or so. And I think he'd have walked through the door with the team he was with. But that's not happening. You know, things change. Rafa took that job. So now you've got to say, well, who is the future? And some people think it should be a big, you know, I see all this Conte and that, and I see Mourinho. And I think them people need zillions thrown at them, because that's the kind of market they work in. So for me, I think it's more likely that we'll get a younger coach or somebody that's going to put some stability in. And right now, you know, I look past Sunday and Steve Bruce, and all I want to do is see Newcastle gets first win of the season. That's what I want to see. And you know, like, just go back to last Tuesday night, last Wednesday night, and ask yourself what you were dreaming about. And if you were dreaming about a takeover for the club to change your lives, which everybody says we've had, then stop for a minute and just think, well, the lives are getting changed, but I'm going to have to be patient and allow change to take place. And the best thing you can do right now is support these owners.
Yeah. Before we come to one of the best Mitch impersonators of all time, in Stu Penman, those of you who are eagle-eyed and realised that he changed, which is an absolute classic. Like, you see the other two holding up laughing because I introduced him as Mitch, but they've swapped over when we were having a chat with Mitch pre-show. Before we come to him, I just want to say the T-shirt on my Twitter, @SteveWraith, which has been bid for, as we all know, over the last week for the food bank. Just one letter. George Hayes, once again, from America, has bid and paid already £325 for that T-shirt.
Oh, brilliant. 325 quid for it.
So that is a bid, and what he said is, if anybody can beat that bid for the food bank, he will still leave the money in because he's already paid it. So if anybody bids £326, the T-shirt is yours. But George Hayes has once again, Houston Mag has basically put in £325 to the food bank. Thank you very much, George. That is an absolutely fantastic gesture, and we have to do something special for you, mate, one day, because you've been an absolute godsend for the food bank. Okay, Stu, how are you, lad?
Well, can I take these off now, because my eyes have been killing this. 7 minutes Keith was talking. Seriously. I
thought you were taking the mick out of me, Stu, because I've entered the Glasses Club this week. My first pair of reading glasses, lads. I haven't made that debut tonight, but I will debut them.
I'm trying to avoid that. No, it's something me and Mitch compiled. But 326 quid for that T-shirt, that's just amazing. It really is. And it's like probably 6 times more than Keith paid for the letter in the first place, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So Stu, it's been a different atmosphere for you. You're not in this country. You're abroad. Yeah, you're actually with Mitch celebrating the big man's birthday, and rightly so. We all wish we could be there with him. But how's it been?
So do I. It would save us a few quid.
How has it been for you this last 7 days after that, the takeover that lasted forever?
Well, when the news broke last week, I was in Tenerife with friends visiting family. Visiting family, but I was with friends on the Thursday, and I was out with people who supported Leeds, Liverpool, Man United, etc. And each one of them were happy. They were the genuine proper fans, West Ham fans, definitely, and they were really happy that we'd got what we wanted, because I've known these guys for 20 odd years. And they've watched me watch that team and what's been produced over the years. And they were so happy, not just for me, but they all know Newcastle's a big club. And it's something where now where I just think we just need to enjoy it. We can't just pick faults with things and like, let's look at this. This is going to happen. We've got what we wanted, and now patience is the key. Just enjoy it, and we'll be fine. And my eyes are really sore after wearing those glasses for that long, so I need to pass you back to Mr. Geordie Dentist, and you can get on with your show properly. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Right.
Okay, mate. Thanks for
Speak to you soon.
day,
Thanks a lot. Hang on.
Please, Joe. Sit on his knee.
Oh, I didn't see one movie.
Yeah, we'll go.
Right.
We apologise for the impromptu swap over. This is the technicalities that we're facing.
Right. The last thing is don't mention his trousers and don't ask him to show you them.
He already has.
We saw them. We got a pre-screening. Mitch, well,
What?
mate, happy birthday.
Sorry, mate.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for that.
I've wasted a happy birthday on Brendan there. I've already said happy birthday to you. Well, look. No, keep the music off.
It's off, mate. No worries.
Good.
Sorted.
Okay. So, what's your take then, Mitch? You've had a week to digest it. I mean, you've had a week to digest probably a lot of drink as well. But what's it been like for you celebrating out there?
It's been great. I've seen it coming together. You know, I talk regularly about herding cats and getting people together out here is no different. No different at all. I don't want to go out to the marina. I live near the ranches. I don't want to travel all the way there. Well, I'm out near the airport and I don't want to go there. We've actually started to get people together. And it's interesting that the day the news broke, well, a few people away and a few of my close mates were away. But Steve Bennett was here. We came into Goodfellas, and then a lad called James Rafferty, who runs basically most of Toyota and Lexus out here, who's a blind lad. He showed up out of the blue, and then Ben Smith, Simon Smith's son, turned up out of the blue because he saw where we were and he wanted to come and be with us. And I think that's what it's done. It's started to bring people back together out here, which is great, and that can only be a good thing going forward, because these little core nuclei of supporters groups out here is how we can build the support in the Gulf, and getting people together should be easier from here on. I think there's a certain level of expectation. I've had some crazy conversations this week, which have given me goosebumps at times, and it's exciting, but it isn't going to happen overnight, and so we'll have to add that little smattering of patience in there. But I think the future's very bright. I'm delighted that we're passing the baton on to our Josh, who hopefully is going to see a hell of a lot more of the stuff that I saw around his age, you know, following the club under Keegan and more, you know.
Talked about Bruce there briefly. I mean, I think personally that it's a good thing that I haven't made a knee-jerk reaction, and I've used the terminology locally when I've seen people out and about this week that, you know, we've gone from a man who ran the football club making decisions in a bar with his mates, flicking a coin at times.
Right.
We've now gone to a consortium of business people who sit round a table, look at all the options, look at what's right, look at what's wrong, and then make a collective decision. And the fact that we're not going through knee-jerk reactions, for me, really pleases me in a lot of ways. And I listened to Steve Bruce's press conference today and listened to what he had to say. It's quite clear that he's still the same old Steve Bruce. And you know, I think that the owners will see that. They will have clearly had private conversations with Steve Bruce this week, which he says will remain private. However, it's quite clear that the job is getting to him, and they will see that and make decisions, Mitch. Of that, I've got no doubt. Only when they've got the right man to bring in.
And I think that's right and correct. Whilst there's a degree of frustration, which I totally understand, I don't think these comments in the press conference today, which I've listened to in the most part, courtesy of Liam sending as a basically recording of it to digest. Is that the message they really want to put out? I don't think it is. To finish it by basically saying, I'm still in the job and you all said I wouldn't be, is not exactly the kind of way that press conference should have gone. I think there should have been a little bit more dignity in there for them, perhaps. Because that's the way it came across to me. But at the same time, if the way everything's happened And we were told it would go quickly. I don't think all of us ever thought it would go 24 hours quickly. But can they have had the structure they originally wanted in place? Because I'm quite convinced from conversations we've had over the last couple of years that part of that structure included Rafa, and he's not available yet. And so you've got to have a plan B. You've got to have a rethink of where you go. And if you don't have that written down hard and fast, and you don't have the person lined up, the team still has to function, even if that's been in the same dysfunctional way we've had this season. Perhaps the least disruption is to just leave it alone and let it tick on. I understand from sources close to the club that the spirit in the camp is obviously sky high at the moment, which is great. That can only benefit the team as a whole. And I think then, let's see, the word is a mutual agreement that we'll go our separate ways when the time's right after the game on Sunday. But let's see. I think for now, when the move is made, it's got to be the right move, because we must avoid the most Newcastle situation in the world, which is get takeover, get relegated. We must avoid that entirely. And the way to do that is to have the right structure put in at the right time when the right people are available.
Yeah, I agree. Steve, monumental week, fantastic week, emotional week, big roller coaster ride for everybody, but ultimately a week which saw Mike Ashley leave the club, new owners come in and take a grip of this club of ours. And I think the watch and brief which they explained to the staff is clearly just applied to Steve Bruce.
Yeah. I mean, the way I looked at it was that their first day in the office was Monday. You know, I mean, they may have got the keys on Thursday night. They may have had a quick wander around and thought about where the furniture is going to be and how they can squeeze that into there and that type of thing. They went back for the weekend down to London, and Monday was the first day in the office. First thing they did, meet the staff who are going to be working at the club, go to the training ground, meet the players, quick few words with Steve Bruce and actually see what they've got. I mean, obviously, we did hear that they'd had a look around the training ground and they were aware of what the training ground was like when they did the due diligence, etc. But this was the first time they had the freedom to go wherever they liked and see whatever they wanted and chat to whoever they wanted to. So in that respect, as I say, this is the end of day 5 in a takeover. Them taking control. And yes, we all know that there's a big game coming. The last thing you want to do, however, is disrupt the plans and the workings for that big game. And I think if they'd sacked Steve Bruce, then I think you would have seen Clements and Agnew walk as well. I think you would have ended up with Jones, Graham Jones, in the hot seat, but with nobody there to support him. You know, then you would have got the goalkeeping coach, and then there would have been the upheaval that have brought perhaps Steve Harper back in from running the academy, and various people running the under 23s would be drafted in, and so it goes on and so it goes on. So that disruption would have cascaded all the way through. And I think what the best thing for what we said on Monday when we were talking between ourselves was just let this go, let this ride, see where it takes us. Put your trust in them, and if they feel as though the best thing for the playing side, the best thing for the staff is to just keep Bruce in situ for now, then great. I mean, as for the press conference, well, dear me, I mean, what did we get? I've played 950 games for them. 950 games as a player, 999 as a manager. And somebody asked him the question whether or not he thought he deserved his 1,000th game. And at that point, I thought he was going to get up and smack somebody. I think the comment came from Simon Bird. From the Mirror, and it's just his whole body language, his whole demeanor, everything about him just tells you that he just doesn't learn. I heard a phrase that was used. Somebody told me this many months ago about Steve Bruce, and they said that he's impossible to control. There is no way that you can tell him what he needs to do, what he should be doing. He's his own man, and he does his own thing, and it's that sort of blinkered, dogmatic way. So if you were trying to control him in a press conference and you took him to one side beforehand and say, don't mention X, don't mention Y, don't mention Z, you can guarantee you would mention them, because that's the makeup of the man. Because it's that attitude of nobody tells me what to do. And how many times have we heard that when we've been discussing Newcastle fans before, And I'm not saying that he's a Newcastle fan or a Man United fan, so don't shoot me down in flames on that one, because that's for a totally different day and a totally different conversation. But you know what I mean? It's that sort of that arrogance that comes, and I think that arrogance played out when he wants to tell us that he's won every domestic trophy, some of them on multiple occasions, when he wants to tell us about his 950 games, and when he wants to tell us about the 999 games which he's been a manager in the 16 years since 2000 or whatever it is, 19 years since the first time he walked into a Premier League in 2002 as a manager. That's what he's like. That's his stock answer. Look at me record. Strangely, we never look at the record of the win percentages versus the losses. But again, that's probably for another conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Mark Patterson's got in quite early with a question. And before I lose it, he says, "Hi, Stephen the lads. Thought I'd get in early with a managerial name I've never seen mentioned anywhere in the media or with the fans. Roy Hodgson." He says, "A safe pair of hands who would sign the deal until June and keep us up." He says, "We need a coach to work with our current players. We play 14 games before January the 1st when we can make our first signing." He says, "The Newcastle manager's job would then be 10 times more appealing in June. A fresh start, open checkbook, full pre-season to work with the players. Amanda and the consortium would then also get 8 to 9 months starting now to get concrete plans in place to take us forward from June." He says, "It's a long message, I know, but I just wondered what the lads' thoughts were on the managerial decisions moving forward." Absolutely brilliant question, Mark, and thanks for getting in early. Keith?
Yeah. Roy Hodgson. I'd rather have Betty Hodgson in than Steve Bruce, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's as far as who you get in goes, I resist the temptation to guess a name, because I've been getting texts every day with Conte on, with Mourinho on, and with Lampard, Gerrard. You know what I mean? And you could say merits in all of them, but that's not a bad call the lads he's done there, because Roy Hodgson is a steady set of hands. And if you were going down to Crystal Palace last year to play them, you would imagine that they would be better lined up, better coached, better equipped. They'd have a better game plan than we would have. So I don't think it's a bad call at all. But somebody said this the other day, is there not people you could put in here? So if you put Graham Jones in and put Keegan in the dressing room, would you not create the same thing? You've got somebody that knows the club back to front, loves it, and it's probably the kind of stint he would do with the coaches he's in there. And you look at some of the coaches around the club, that could get Newcastle over the line this year and get us to January or get us to a new manager. But I'll be amazed if they haven't got a new manager ready or sort of in their minds who they want to speak to. Again, you can only go off what you hear from the sources that you trust. But that there's more managers come out of the woodwork and come forward and said they want this job than what was expected. So if that's the case, people coming forward that wouldn't have offered themselves pre-takeover are now saying that they want the job. And you hear from decent sources that Lampard's team have put him forward, and haven't denied it, like his agents and things. And a lot of it is that way. The people put them forward, they try, sort of put a toe in the water, and they try and find out whether there's going to be any takers on it. You don't get Frank Lampard picking the phone, so can I have the job? But you get his agent putting stuff out to see if it gets a reaction. But Roy Hodgson's not a bad call. I just think there's better people closer to Newcastle who know the club better, who could come and fill that role temporarily. You know what I mean? And so if you had Graham Jones and coaching staffs, and you had people of the ilk of Keegan, Shearer, Robert Lee, people like that there's got to be enough people out there that could do a temporary job. And it sounds like the route they're talking about there is an interim job. And that will be the decision of these new owners. I mean, they've spent hundreds of millions. They're going to spend hundreds more. So let them pick. Let them choose. Because you know what it's like. You imagine going in a shoe shop and walking in. You've got £100 you've worked hard for, you've done overtime for. There's a pair of shoes there. It's not worse than someone giving you a pair of shoes that's nip and that you don't like the look of. And you get told you've got to wear them. but they're not the shoes you to pick if you've gone yourself. So if somebody spends 300 plus million, I say, well, let them go and pick the manager, because they're not. Then think about it, logic. They're not going to deliberately pick a duffer, are they? They're going to, you know, you can imagine Jamie Rubin and me that sitting in an office, sitting talking about managers. They'll go through everybody, all the up and coming managers in the lower leagues, all the people in the Premiership, all the people abroad. They'll go through every single transaction. So I'm quite confident. You know, I'm like, when I go Sunday, I'm just going to go with a smile on my face. I'm just going to just take it in, you know, just smell it and just sit back and just think, you know, I kind of change what happens on that pitch. And I kind of, and I don't want to worry really too much. I just think to myself, well, what will be. And we know that we're going to end up getting good players. We're not going to get a good manager. So we'll let it happen.
Yeah. Mitch, I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Roy Hodgson. We've seen a lot of names linked. Always interesting on a Friday, because managerial press conferences take place. So we've had the joy of seeing Jurgen Klopp hammer the takeover, and he's clearly got sour grapes about Newcastle becoming a top force. But then we've heard, you know, again, Steven Gerrard protesting a little too much, I thought, about the Newcastle job. We've heard Brendan Rodgers again this week knocking it back. So I mean, you know, looking at it, it's just another name in a big mixing pot, isn't it?
I think the most important thing in that question that Mark makes, I think it's a great idea, is we've got this dilemma about what we do between now and the end of the season versus what we do from the season end going forward, because that's a different conversation in some ways. So do you go all out with your grand plan and get the people you want in looking ahead to the end of the season, but if they're not the right people who are going to make sure we don't get relegated, because there's no doubt that sometimes if you were to put some of the so-called top coaches into the situation we're in at the minute, with the selection of players that we have, with no disrespect to our squad, would they be able to do it? And I'm not convinced that that's always the case. Roy Hodgson, the one thing you would say about him is at least he's still vaguely relevant. He retired at the end of last season, so he has some knowledge of what the Premier League's all about right now. And that would be my problem with putting somebody like Keegan in. Where does he stand with the Premier League now? Because it's a different group of players and different teams and slightly different way of playing football, I think. So I think it is a really tough choice and a tough decision about what to do. And I think we just have to trust to them to make the right decisions. But we do have this problem that of the timing of the takeover. The next window is 14 games away, as somebody points out very relevantly. That's a lot of games, and that's a lot of points to be won with the group of players that we have. So who can work with that group to make them, I don't even think it's a case of make them better, make them more organised and give them a system and give them something that they recognise, because I think that's part of the problem. Is to hear Bruce flip-flop 1 week to the next about it's all about players, it's all about systems. I'm not a systems man. Well, hang on, you said 2 weeks ago it was all about systems. So it's a genuine problem. Personally, I don't think Roy Hodgson's the solution, but I get where he's coming from because he's identified the problem that we have.
Absolutely.
I would agree. Yeah, you're nodding away, Steve. I think we all agree on that. But I think, you know, Roy Hodgson is he is a safe pair of hands, isn't he? You know, would he come? Do you think, Steve?
I'm not too sure. I mean, he retired after a long career, and he said, you know, he felt as though his time was up, and he you know, he was going to spend time with the family and the grandkids and the wife and all that type of thing. Which I suppose, looking back, Roy had a bit of an awkward time, didn't he, at Crystal Palace? Once, I think it was the best kept secret in football that Palace were going to change their manager, and I think they ended up with Vieira. But I think, you know, a lot of people like myself, I thought that they were hanging out to bring somebody else in. I didn't think it was going to be Vieira. I thought Eddie Howe sitting on the south coast was going to be the person who stepped in. There is a history of clubs on the south coast swapping managers and that type of thing. So that's where I thought it was going. But what I loved about that was it was out the box thinking. I love that type of thought. I love the fact that the lad has thought about it. He's thought about the situation. He's looked at the whole thing in the round in terms of, as Mitch says, where we are now, where we are at the end of the season, how many games we've got, how a safe pair of hands would come in, and it's somebody who you can very, very easily bring in on a short-term contract. I like all that sort of thing. I like the out-of-the-box choice because, like you said, nobody's ever mentioned that name. It's completely from left field, but you can understand the logic for a club in a situation like ours that may, with a particular type of owner, might go, you know what, that's probably the best way to go. So I think all of that is really refreshing to hear. It's great when you've got something that it's not just a fan going Conte, you know, Vieira or Gerrard or Lampard. They're actually thinking about it and analysing the situation. I say I love all that. Whether or not that's what the owners are have in their own mind, only time will tell. It's going to. This is the fascinating thing about where we are now. The time that it's going to take, how they're going to step into it, what the priorities are. Nobody knows what the priorities are. Nobody knows whether the priorities is to bring in a sporting director or a director of football, because they're two very, very different roles. Nobody knows whether it's then the sporting director who shapes the pattern and the whole ethos of the playing structure, you know, right from the academy all the way up to the first team, and develops and formulates the type of football that the club's going to play, and then fits the players in around that, fits the managers and the coaches in around that, and builds a philosophy. Whereas a director of football tends to be slightly more aloof from that aspect of it. My understanding with the director of football, it's just somebody who's the buffer that helps the board to make the decisions on who the next manager should be. It's not really absorbing the whole culture of the playing side and devising the ethos of the way that club's going to play, so that you know that the under 15s are going to play the same as the under 16s, are going to play the same pattern as the under 18s, that an under 21 or an under 23 player, if he comes into the first team, knows exactly the way and what's expected of them for the particular role they've been brought into play, etc., etc., etc. So it's going to be fascinating to see how our club develops over the next 2 or 3 years with all of that, and with everything that goes, and with the expectation of 52,000 plus the other 150,000 on Tyneside, plus all the fans worldwide, they're going to hook on. And that's something that we're going to have to learn from. We're going to have to suddenly learn what it's like as it used to be when you went on your holidays in the 90s to Europe, and you saw loads of people on the beach that weren't English, but they were wearing the Newcastle top. All of that type of thing. You go up to someone, you're going, "Oh, you all right, mate?" And he rabbits back into you in Spanish or Greek or whatever it happens to be. And we're going to experience all that again. And the youngsters, like you mentioned, Josh there, he's going to experience that. He's going to go over to somebody and say hello to them in a bar, and they've got a black and white top on, and the bloke's not going to understand a word he's saying. But there again, he probably wouldn't understand the word anyway, you know. But
the advantage for Josh is he speaks a bit of Arabic, so you know that makes a difference.
But yeah, it's a learning curve for us all, and it's a journey that we're on, and let's just see how this journey is going to progress, lads.
Yeah, good idea, mate. It's look, it's up to the consortium. That's where we're at, and you know, I for one am prepared to give them a hell of a lot of time. You know, we wanted this takeover, we've got this takeover. I think for people to start now, starting to have a pop and starting to criticize, I just think it's a social media disease. That's what it is. And I think if people, you know, want to live in the real world, have a walk. Go to the bar after the match or before the match and speak to real people. Keep off social media because it's poisonous, it's twisted, and it's full of people who probably aren't even Newcastle fans, if I'm perfectly honest. There's a lot of jealousy out there, a lot of nastiness out there, and a lot of people who really just want to cause trouble for people doing well. And that ultimately is where we're at. Wake up, smell the coffee. We've got a takeover that we wanted. Happy days. 97% were led to believe of people that the supporters trust one of this takeover. Well, there you go. That's it. The other 3%, go and support somebody else. That's what other people have had to do in the past. If you don't like the owner, do what everybody who didn't support Mike Ashley did. Leave. Don't come back until the owner changes. But believe you me, with these people in, you're going to have a hell of a long wait. And I think with 3%, you'll struggle to get much people throwing aeroplanes at the pitch or doing 5-minute walkouts. So that's my rant for the day anyway. We're going to go to one of our regular features now. We've got a couple of guests coming on as well. We're going to have Joe on later on, Toon Tipster, of course, and Stato is going to be live. And we're also going to welcome, after 7 o'clock, a good friend of mine, Paul Martin, who has done a wonderful song called Amanda, which is in aid of the food bank. So Paul will be coming on to tell us all about that a little bit later on. Okay, one of our regular segments is... Tweet of the week. Got quite a few of these this week, so I thought I'd get through these. And as I know, Joe likes to be on screen when we have the lookalikes, so we'll keep them for a little bit later. But tweet of the week, mainly takeover orientated, it has to be said, today. And go on, I've done them in big print for you today, Steve. Although yeah, I need them in big print now because I've got glasses.
I love it. Wilfred, what a good guy he is. All right. Piff, Saudi Arabia, Amanda, Rubens, Wilfred, Joe, Jane, Al-Walid, Newcastle are all the same. So what you want to do about it? Undo the NUFC takeover and bring Mike Ashley back? Miguel Delaney? Go and sit down and sip some tea. Leave NUFC alone. Twitter.com. Quality. I covered everything in less than the maximum number of words as well. Well done. Well done.
Go and have a sip of tea was my favourite line of that. I've got to be perfectly honest. Mark Byers, a friend of the show, he said, kids climbing into St James's Park in 1968. Are we on the verge of seeing scenes like this again when YouTubers without a ticket try to scale the East Stand to get a glimpse of the match for the first time in their lives? I've got to be honest, Mark, I did laugh at that, mate. I did laugh. I know that wasn't aimed at us, so I can take that as a laugh. This one was really good as well. Again, from Jed, he says, my outpouring of gratitude to Wraith et al., including my own brother, has cost me 6 followers. Damn you, Steve Wraith. I won't let you forget this. It's all your fault. And then Mr. Logic says, the square root of fault equals 1 Steve. Thank you. Yeah, sorry that I've cost you a couple of followers. And Steve, this was brilliant, this one, Steve Hasty.
Yes, absolutely. This was Sky Sports. These pictures are just into us. Newcastle United boss Steve Bruce is spotted leaving the NUFC training ground as speculation over his future rumbles on following the 300 million, which I presume takeover. Breaking news, says El Matos. Man goes home for his tea after work.
A little veiled dig at a little bit of sensationalism on Twitter. No surprise there. I think there'll be a lot of people like this. Craig, I see Craig quite a bit. Whenever I'm going to an away game, I always seem to bump into him. We're both wearing Peaky Blinder caps usually. Craig says, can he wait till Saturday, Sunday? He's already got his costume ready. So you look very good, mate. You look very good. I hope you're not going to be too cold, mate. It's starting to get a bit nippy outside. But
you can put that Peaky Blinders hat on the top of it, can't he?
He'll have to. This was one from Steve 2030.
Yes, instead of paying Bruce £8 million, I presume he means, we should just give him Gale and Shelby.
Can you imagine that? There's your severance pay. Can you fit these in your car? Very funny. This one was circulating quite a bit over the last week as well. Tom Lowdown. It's awful when tweets are out there and then they get thrown back in your face. And this was, of course, in June 21. He went, really feel sorry for people still obsessing over a non-existent takeover. Let it go. Take up a hobby. Exercise. Get fit. Read a book. Watch the Euros. Yes, it did go through, Tom. But we all fall victims sometimes to tweets which would put out.
Get the sentiment, though.
Dallas Mag is commenting as well just on the potential takeover of Derby by our former owner. God, doesn't that sound good? Mike Ashley. He says he'll have no issues at all. If I was Derby fans, I'd be sick. Once he's in, you can't get him out. And don't we know that is the truth? This one was good from Stephen.
Yep. NCSL. So he's directing this to you, Keith, to Steve, Geordie Dentist, myself. Hi, lads. If any of you are in touch with the new owners, could you ask them to leave it a little while before we win something, as my liver needs a rest? Yes. I think, Steve, you're writing for about 52,000 there. If what we've been following on Twitter and the rest of social media is anything to go by.
Yeah,
Nice.
great. This one. Geordie lad says, breaking news: Sunderland Football Club are going to lodge a complaint to the government about the Newcastle United takeover as soon as they sell a player to buy a stamp. I did like that one. Smithy sent this one, Steve.
Yes, does somebody want to tell Daniel Levy that if he's unhappy with the Premier League's decision, there's an arbitration slot free on the 3rd of January 2022?
That was good. We've got some really good ones this week. This one was Christine Livesey. Goes, I'm a Sunderland fan who would rather stay in Division 1 than be taken over by the Saudi group. Stephen Tweedy was first in with, well, you're in luck.
That's the best. That's the best.
Oh, there's some corkers, by the way. And this one, I gave this one as the winning one. This was another Sunderland fan. As far as I can see, the inevitable is going to happen, be it 5 years, be it 10, but they are going to win stuff and become even more unbearable pricks when they already are. We just better get used to it. Delete Twitter forever and never watch Match of the Day ever again.
Brilliant.
Love it. Love it. Thanks for all those that you've highlighted and sent in. Excellent. And that is your tweet of the week this week. As always, we thank our sponsors who stood by us through thick and thin. Big shout out to Spider VPN for all your internet issues. Then Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of your search list to help protect your passwords and your photographs and everything on your computer. Spider VPN are the boys to trust. Thanks to skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. And there they are, celebrating the takeover, the lads in the desert, kicking a ball around on that camels. Fantastic. Great. We've got a touch of the old Rafa Benitez, Sir Bobby, hasn't he, there? But fantastic. Big thank you to them. L&G Family Funeral Directors as well. Thank you to you for supporting us the last few months as well. 01913897245. And John at qtechshop.co.uk. The makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend in Newcastle. And a Jab Signature for producing all of our promotional flyers at the drop of a hat. He's certainly been on the ball this week under a bit of pressure at work, but still managed to get the flyers over. So thank you. And if you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on that and you can subscribe to the show. Hit the thumb up to like the video, which helps us. Click the share button to share to your other social media. Drop into the comments box to chat to like-minded Newcastle fans and to potentially get a question on screen. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and other podcast providers. And don't forget as well, we do have a website, NUFCmatters.com. Christmas is coming. Some T-shirts, etc. on there if you fancy getting something for a fan of the show. And we've got a few events coming up. An evening with Gavin Peacock is coming around rather quickly, 29th of October. Tickets are still available, £15, Tyneside Irish Centre. The event we're doing for the food bank, our belated Christmas party, which is at the Irish Centre on the 19th of November. Tickets for that are £12. Proceeds going to the food bank. And an evening with Peter Beardsley, which has been advertised Evening Chronicle tonight. Thank you to Charlie Bennett of Matchday Live, who's doing a bit of work for the Chronicle, who interviewed Peter and has done a fantastic article. He's also given the event a bit of a plug. 26th of November for that one. All events at the Tyneside Irish Centre. If you want to buy tickets, go to that website, newcastlelegends.com, click shop, and you can buy your tickets there. So get yourself onto the website and come along and meet some of us. Gibbo and Supermax should be an absolute belter for the food bank. 126 tickets, I think, at the last count. That's going to be a really, really good night. If you want to donate to the food bank in other ways, NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is on 365 days of the year. It's a match day bucket. You can donate virtually. Just click on that and you donate as much or as little as you want. At the moment, you can still go into the raffle, the ongoing raffle for the Newcastle Supporters Consortium Watch. The winner of that will be drawn at the pool competition. Now, John is back on his feet and he's back out, I think, going to his first game tomorrow, which is great news. Well, great to see you back on your feet, John. And on Sunday, sorry, not tomorrow. And he's that's great news. It's been a long haul with COVID, but that means he'll also be sorting the food bank event out. There's a couple of other events. This one is just an event that Rob Lee is doing. Keep asking us to promote it. www.laurelswhitley.co.uk, which is on the 28th of October, is where you can get tickets. I am doing another food bank event with Supermac. All proceeds to the food bank, a bit like the one we did with Liam Kennedy. Again, that's down in Jesmond at Bobix. Tickets for that, bobix.com. And I do believe the tickets are a tenner for that. So that should be a cracking night. Looking forward to that. Nice, small, cozy venue. Just a shout out as well for the Peter Beardsley Soccer School, Monday the 25th to Friday the 29th of October. This is going really well. I've had an email again of somebody today asking me for details, so I've forwarded them on to the email there, pbsoccerschools@hotmail.com. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Each day. It's £15. If you want to book in for the full week, it's £60. And all coaches are DBS qualified and they are DBS checked and FA qualified. So well worth getting yourself along to that. Dog and Parrot on Sunday, 1:15. Malcolm MacDonald and Joe Allen will be doing the talk-in. And then at 6:15, I will be doing the talk-in with Supermac after the game. So double trouble for Supermac. He will be at the Dog and Parrot pre-match and after-match. Get yourself along. Now, John from QTech as well does, as you know, always run a competition. The first picture, I believe, was that, lads. Am I right?
Yeah.
Keep us right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Phew. Okay, that was the first. That was the first one, the Black Bull, which of course is a bar on Barrack Road. So your next clue, which I think because of the takeover we didn't give out last week, is this.
Right.
What is it? Is that the building down from Barrack Road?
Yeah.
Right. So that's another building. Okay. And then the clue 3 for this week is this.
Right.
So that's your 3 clues so far. So I'll run through them again, just in case you haven't got it. So we've got one more clue to get. The Black Bull is clue 1. Then we've got that building, whatever that is, up next to the ground. And then we've got Sir Bobby's statue at the ground. Okay, so write those down. You'll get another clue next week, and then you'll get your answer, hopefully. That's for 2 tickets for the Chelsea game. So write your answers down to those questions, those clues, sorry, and we will finish that off next week. Okay, moving on. There's been a bit of news about things developing, Keith, developing around the ground. This is obviously away from the football pitch. I've seen lots of stuff on Twitter. I've seen bits and bobs linked in the Chronicle. Loads of column inches given to potential new training grounds or to the ground itself being moved, and plans like this being put out on the internet. I mean, what's your take on all of that? Do you think that the consortium are going to be looking at this now? Do you think this is do you think they'll be delving into it all? Or do you think they'll be concentrating on the first? What did you think of all that? That looks like a really professional production, doesn't it? It looks great.
I think some of them have reared their heads, and some of them have been around for a long time. I spoke to Steve Yesley about this, and we talked about the amount of land you'd need to do it. And some people were saying, you could do this site and that site. Steve Yesley corrected a few people on Twitter during the week and said, when you start to put 70,000 seat stadiums in, you need X number of acres. And I know his brother Jed is quite clued up on that and on sites that's available around the town. But I think I wish I was a bloke who was selling land in and around Newcastle at the minute, because I just think you might see the potential previous buyers get gazumped various funds. But it's clear as day that I heard that Dickinson D's had the name on a site, at the back of the ground, which we all call the Gallagher area, and they were saying that Dickinson D's were ready to move in, but then the company had gone bust and they weren't going to move in, and then it was capable of being bought. If it's capable of being bought, as per the building behind the East Stand, as per Leisures Park, as per the training ground, as per everything down the quayside, with the second richest family in Britain, in the Ruberns, and with PIF fund kicking around, I think it's simple to say that they will snap it up, because they're not just coming here to do a venture or to buy a football club. They're coming to transform a city. Newcastle's going to change as a place. The infrastructure will change. You'll find, Al Walid spoke about on his program that you're going to have 30 million. He tried to emphasize to people the difference it's going to make. You've got 30 million new Newcastle fans. And what he was saying to us last night on the show was that whenever anything happens like this in Saudi, people follow the team that Saudi follows. They all tend to go man and boy. And I heard something during the week where it came from one of the senior people in PIF that the methodology now is to bring some trophy signs to Newcastle in time and remove the Man City, the PSG, the Real Madrid, Man United, and Liverpool shirts out of Saudi, and they all will change to black and white. Now, Mitch lives there; he knows what it means. And Stu Penman, that they live in that area of the world, in the MENA region, and when this thing starts, it'll be like a train. And what Al Walid was saying last night was, he said that Abu Dhabi have bought Man City, and hats off to them. They've transformed Manchester. I know people who've got businesses and buildings in that area, and they said it just transformed, because what Abu Dhabi did was they went in and bought the lesser part of the city. They bought the less fashionable areas, and they transformed that to some of the better areas. And they've completely turned Manchester on its head. And they said people who's down there, not only have they done it, but they've done it extremely well. And they've done it by consultation with the people. They've involved people all the way along the line. So what they've done, but Al Walid said, yeah, but Kate, that's 3 million kind of population. This is 30. So whilst the PIF fund is 10 times greater and more than the fund that's bought Manchester City and dominated, they must be the best club football team in the world now, Man City. But you've got something 10 times more money, 10 times more people. So when you talk about our small city, and you just look at Newcastle, which to us is the mecca of everything, we think it's the be all and end all. You're talking about people coming in with phenomenal funds, and anything that can be snapped up and done will be done. But I'll tell you, there's some people will sit and be hanging out for the last dollar on some sites, and they'll just walk away, because these people know how to buy as well. They know how to buy. They know how to put bids in from other people. But once they buy and start developing, just watch it rise from the ground, because this city's going to change. And, if you've got a hotel or a bar, or a bed and breakfast, you're going to see massive changes. And this is what we were fighting for at the start. We always said that there were so many losers if this bid didn't go through. So I look at all those sites, Steve Wraith, and I refer back to what Steve Hasty said was like if you talk to their Jed, he has quite a good understanding of what you can and cannot do in areas, what will and won't get past. And I think there'll be some massive developments, but there might even be in areas you don't expect. There might be sites that you least expect the development to come from, but then it'll just go up. And I'll be staggered if in time to come there's not a training facility that rivals and betters Leicester's, which is it's a phenomenal sight to see, because we know already in the short space of time that the owners aren't impressed with the training facility. So that is one area to some. But it often with things like that, you see training areas that we've got now being sold. You often see them getting sold off and say, well, that's better for building land. And then they develop a greenfield site and put a training facility on somewhere. Didn't. I know Rangers did that in Scotland. They put theirs just out of town, but did a fantastic facility. So fingers crossed, I cannot wait.
Great stuff. Yeah, Mitch, what's your take on the the rumoured developments? I mean, the consortium they're going to be ahead of the game on this, aren't they? They're already going to be looking at this, surely.
You'd hope so. I think Keith's touched on it very closely there. The stuff Steve and I have done in the past, that's made us look at this concept about what do we need and what don't we need. We don't need a 70,000 stadium right now. But if things go the way the consortium want to go, then I'm quite sure we will need a 70,000 plus stadium at some stage in the future. Then looking at options for development is tricky. For example, the concept that's been banged back around again about turning the pitch to 90 degrees and doing stuff with the stands to get around the existing problems using the plot of land that we have right now. That was done by a patient of mine, actually. That was done by a guy called John Henry, who's an architect. We went for a beer one day and we were talking, chewing the fat. He's a big Man United fan. And he said, well, I reckon I can find a way around all your problems. And he actually did that. He knocked that out overnight. You know, it was one of these things. You looked at it and did a bit of digging, did a bit of Googling, and looked at how the problems could be solved, and came out with a really left field idea. People are using that at the minute, like, oh, they're not going to do this, or this is terrible. No, it's just an idea from an architect out here who did, amongst other things, the big wheel here on Blue Waters in Dubai, because the guy knows how to get around projects like that. We've looked at road development with Jay French, who would have been CEO had one of the Canadian bids gone through. Jay currently is building the Museum of the Future here in Dubai. That'll show you the kind of things that his company, Matthew Southwest, can do. Modern, inventive, innovative designs of architecture. And he had a few ideas off the top of his head about how to get around certain development issues in St James's Park. Whether some of them could be flown or not, that's another matter. I think it really does matter the relationship that the consortium build with the City Council about what they can and cannot do with the land around St James's Park, and what you can do, for example, with the Leazes Terrace, Leazes Park, etc., is another concept. However, again, it needs a good relationship with the council. However, we're also talking about a group who have a heck of a lot more money to play with, and money ultimately talks. And if you can find a solution, any solution is going to have to be invented. And there's lots of sites that have been looked at in the past, and one of the problems Steve and I certainly have encountered is getting, for example, I've seen people looking at saying, right, can we use the arena land? Can we use brownfield land on the Gateshead side? Can we use brownfield land down towards Walker? And getting the other councils to actually agree to do stuff is just, difficult. It's like running in treatment. And getting them to think outside the box about what possibilities and concepts they have. And it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of hard discussions. The Rubens brothers undoubtedly are going to come into conversation simply about the amount of land they own. If you look at what they own around the race course, you want to build a brand new training ground. But you know what? I think you've got a fantastic piece of land near the race course that you could put, a blank page design of the best training facilities in the world into, if you wanted. And so that's why they're part of this. Is that the developments in the building and the way the region's going to benefit, not just the city, in terms of what architectural things can be done and what infrastructure things can be done, is huge. And that's why they're on board. No doubt about it for me. But it's an interesting conversation. It's already brought some fantastic ideas and thoughts from the fan base out. That's why when I shared that design that John Henry did with Mark Douglas at the Congo, he was desperate to run it because he says stuff like this causes debate, and I love it. It causes some interesting debate, and that's why Mark used it in the past. It's certainly been passed on to other people as an idea, and so I'm quite sure they're considering all other options as part of the bigger picture. So do we need all of that right now? No. What we need to do right now is avoid relegation and just go one step at a time. But it's only right that if we're talking about an ambitious club that's going to go forward, and we're going to be talking about regular Champions League involvement as a goal, for example, without saying that we're going to go around winning anything, because we just haven't of late. But if we're to talk about getting the club regularly back into the Champions League, we are going to need a lot more seats because the fan base is going to grow exponentially, particularly out here in the Middle East. And so I think we really aren't even seeing the tip of the iceberg of the possibilities for the region and the city to benefit from this. And talking about building new infrastructure and new grounds and new training facilities is part of that, and it's key.
Yeah, Steve, your views on those pretty plans we've seen. I mean, you've seen lots of these plans. I know you've shown me them over the years, and I mean, I was lucky enough in 2000 to see the plans from David Stonehouse about the potential development on the East Stand, and incorporating the listed buildings within that. So we've all been privy to something at some point. I mean, you guys with the talk of the stadium being moved back in the day, and it's just another set. It's another set of nice plans on a piece of paper with a bit of design and gets people talking. But is the reality that that this is? Do you think the reality is that this is plans in motion, or just is this just speculation at the minute?
I think it's speculation, to be perfectly honest, because I think that the most important thing is, as the guys have already said, is making sure that first of all we safeguard our position in the Premier League. Then we move on. Then we start to win things. The demand, we know that demand's there, but we've got to it's a gradual process. It's interesting. A lot of the things that have been talked about, you could go back to the early 1960s and even earlier and see various development plans that were put forward. When there were plans put forward to build St James's Park on the racecourse, for example, in Gosforth. When there were plans around about the time of the World Cup to redevelop St James's Park, and the hassle that was created by both the City Council, the fact that the owners of the football club at that particular time didn't have the money and didn't want to put their own money in. They expected the money paid for by the what basically was known as the ratepayers then, which is now the council taxpayers. And so it goes on. I mean, there's issues with every sort of brownfield site that you see or greenfield site you see dotted around. There's issues over who owns the lease. All of those, and this it's exactly what Mitch has said, and Keith has repeated as well, that when you've got people of the ilk of the Reuben brothers with their knowledge, their basic knowledge of how developments materialize and the problems and pitfalls and how to get around things and actually, would you want to build something on something that you don't own? That means you're going to have to pay an absolute small fortune to a leaseholder, that type of thing. So one of your first protocols is going to be make sure that the site that you're going to buy or the site you're going to build on, you actually own the lease to. I mean, the Civil Service College, I believe, still own the lease to the training ground at Darsley Park. There was a 125-year lease when Sir John and Freddie Shepherd took that on. I think it was around about 2002, probably possibly even earlier when eventually that everything occurred there. And it's things like that. I mean, obviously there's a lease still sitting there. Gradually it's worked its way down, and there reaches a point, if there's 40 years to go, nobody's going to ever build on that particular plot of land because it's just not viably worth it. You're looking for a 999-year lease, or you're looking for something that you own the lease of. And it's the same with a lot of these brownfield sites. And again, it's the excitement. It's the thought that we may be in that realm, excuse me, of actually building a super stadium at some point in time, or expanding St James's Park. Somebody said to me, you can't do that because there's a road in the way. Well, you can move a road, you can divert a road. It's not a problem, you just, we talked about that plan before. You think out the box, just move the road. Just, it's not beyond the wit of man to, as you said, with the John Stonehouse things that you saw in 2000, Steve.
David Stonehouse, yeah.
Yeah, David Stonehouse, sorry, to incorporate the listed buildings that are there. I mean, the best one I heard was, well, why don't you just demolish the Leazes building, the Leazes Terrace building, number the bricks and take them all to Beamish and rebuild it there, and then you've got a nice plot of land and you've still got the original building. I thought that is out of the box thinking, and that's the sort of the sort of thing that really tickles me when statements are made like that, and fascinates me. But the Gallagher end, Keith, you mentioned the Gallagher end, you mentioned the plot of land, you mentioned the issues that there are. It's been lying derelict and nobody's built on it for 2 years. Obviously, we've had COVID, but yes, we've heard that there are financial issues surrounding that. you never know that the Reuben brothers and their knowledge of what's going on building wise in the city, they might snap it up, and they might see that the need for an extension to Gallagher, and then that kind of then brings into sharp focus the fact that there's only the East Stand left. And then if you want, you make a statement, that the statement's planted there. If you suddenly start to redevelop the Gallagher end, that means you're staying. That means that the brownfield sites are off the agenda. You're not going to do that. So as things materialize, as things work their way through, as the plans start to mature, this is a great problem to have, isn't it? It's a great problem to have for a football club. It's a great problem to have for a city. And it's a great problem to have as supporters, because it's something to talk about that's not takeover.
Exactly. 100%, mate. It is just nice not to have to mention takeovers full stop. But yeah, great stuff. Always plenty to talk about. As I said with Newcastle, some people said, what are you going to talk about on NUFC Matters when the takeover happens? Well, honestly, we're filled an hour and 10 minutes already, and we haven't even really started talking football properly yet.
Can we get everybody to use the hashtag tookover instead of takeover?
Yeah, hashtag tookover. It's a good idea, that, mate. A good idea. Okay, on to another one of our regular segments. Keep these pictures coming in. We have got a few, still got a few to get through, but the day I met has proved to be quite popular. The day I met, where you send in photographs of the day that you met a famous footballer from Newcastle, or a manager, or even the tea lady. Send them in, get them in, and send them to the usual people, me, Steve, Mitch, or Keith, and we will get you on the show when we can. Ben Sidley, thank you for this. The day I met Fabrizio Colaccini, he says, it was very windy in Liverpool outside the team hotel when we were playing Everton away at the end of the season, and we finished 5th. May 2012. Definitely windy. Colaccini's hair is all over the place there, but fantastic, mate. Great. Thank you for sharing that. The Mag says, the day I met Dubravka. He tagged us all in, but he's towering above you there, mate. And another good photo. Good to see him returning to fitness. The winner this week, or my favourite one this week, is sent by Nicholas from the Felon, who is often in the chat. And it was great to have a catch up with him and have a pint with him and his good lady in Felon last Sunday. This one could have gone into lookalikes as well, but it's definitely the day I met. Look at that. Kevin Keegan and Shearer at the top.
Yep.
Kevin Keegan and Nicholas from the Felon at the bottom.
Wow.
That is unbelievable, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? That's brilliant, that.
It's almost an identical...
It's from Gosforth as well, I hope.
It's almost an identical photo. Yeah. In fact, Keegan's got the same top on there, hasn't he?
Yeah, looks like it.
I wonder if it was the same day.
Hey.
I wonder if it was the same day.
Steve, right.
We'd had a couple of drinks by the time this got mentioned, and I got him to send us it. But Nicholas, that is great, that, mate. Honestly, I'll never. An almost identical photo. I'm gonna ping it to Alan as well. I'm sure he'll enjoy seeing that. But that is the day I met for this week. Thanks for getting your photos in. Couple of other things just to mention. As always, we never take the support for granted. Over 770 watching live. Always blows us away on a Friday night that you like listening to us chat Newcastle. Latest figures are in, and this is how our channel did in October. Well, this is October's figures. This will be for September. Nearly 400 new subscribers, 248,000 total views, 3.2 million minutes watched. Thank you very much for your support. Again, it's always nice to share those figures with you. You've helped the channel grow over 1,000 subscribers in the last couple of months as well. It just shows that people enjoy what we're saying, what we do, and we will continue to do it. So thanks very much for your support. Another food bank prize as well. If you remember, I only had a photo with one trainer when it was getting sorted by John from Tech. You do actually win 2. Tickets are £1 each from NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. They will be custom made for you. They will be your size. They will be signed on the night at the Peter Beardsley event by Peter Beardsley, and you could win them. It's a raffle. It's £1 a ticket. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. That is how you enter. Cracking little prize, custom made. And those trainers are the bomb. I've got a couple of pairs. One pair that I got made by the same guy. Sex Pistols t-shirt, Sex Pistols trainers, fantastic. So get yourself on, and don't forget as well on the website we've also got these t-shirts, just one letter t-shirts, the Sir Keith Patterson t-shirts. All proceeds going to the food bank from those t-shirts. NUFCmatters.com. All proceeds to the food bank from that. And I've got to say, just a quick reminder, you can still bid on the just one letter t-shirt on my @SteveWraith on Twitter. And that is up to £325 at the minute. All proceeds again to the food bank. George has already paid that. So whatever anybody bids over 325 quid, you will probably be the winner. And that means that t-shirt will make a record amount. In fact, that is the record amount for a t-shirt, I think, at this moment in time. So well done, George. Thank you for your support, as always. Brilliant stuff. Keith, takeover might be done and dusted, but I did see a tweet from Irina. Now, those of you who watch the show regularly will remember Irina came on and gave us her insight into how she thought that things were going to play out with the CAT case and with arbitration. And she also gave us some enlightening views on the trolling that we've all received. And she made a bold statement to say that it was organised, it was orchestrated, and that some of it quite clearly came because of the geopolitical argument that we found ourselves in when we were trying to help with the takeover from our perspective. But this interested me, this, Keith. She says, once again, the Premier League gets to get away with corruption. CAT case is independent of arbitration case, and the deal should have been pursued regardless. I mean, you know, the CAT case was dropped this week, Keith. What was your take on that? Would you like to have seen them pursue that and continue?
It would be selfish. I mean, I'm just a football fan. So, yeah, if it had been done, I knew what the outcome was being. And when you talk to top QCs and they say they can't defeat this, you just know that there's a hiding coming from it. So it would be insincere of us to say that I wouldn't like to see it run. But if somebody said to me, you're not going to see it run, but you're going to get a takeover, that's what I asked for at the start. So it's more important that we got the takeover than denied some personal gratification in seeing a case run. I knew if it ran, it would win. But I didn't know you were going to bring this up, but it sort of comes at a poignant time to me because I just think the best way to get anything done is to not worry about who gets the credit. And I've lost the desire and I've lost the energy to argue with people. I spoke to Justin Barnes today. It was great to catch up because it was, you know, like if he hadn't sat and listened to me for 21 minutes without interrupting us, which was the first meet with me and Gordon, he wouldn't have took the CAT case on. And then he growled at us and asked us why we'd put in the papers from Robert O'Donoghue to the Premier League that we thought the club had been run badly by Mike Ashley for 14 years because he wasn't happy to support us because of that point. And I said to him, we didn't put that in. Robert O'Donoghue did because he wanted to show separation between our action and the football club because if not, he wouldn't have bought it. So he bought that and then he listened to us and then he introduced us to Nick DeMarco and Shai Fatima. And then Robert O'Donoghue sold them the whole concept of a CAT case. So he, you know, this week, Brickcourt Chambers, if you've seen today, have just gone out there and promoted the two lawyers that they use in the case and congratulate them on defeating the Premier League because that's what did it. It was the CAT case. Anyone who thinks otherwise, but I've lost the hunger to convince people, and I look at fanzines fighting and podcasts fighting and you know Irina, I don't know who sent her, but I'm sure she didn't just turn up. But this woman from the sort of Middle East speciality with US lawyer background, she doesn't just turn up on your doorstep and start saying, look, Keith, that's where all your trolls have come from. And she doesn't just come to us last night and say, you know, Keith, it's getting worse and people are targeting you even now the takeover's through. So I've like come to a point where yesterday I was with a dear friend. If you ever see any wagons kick around the northeast with the letters KATEM on, KTM, it's from Katie and Emma, and it's a guy, a friend of mine, John Davison. He's a season ticket holder. He's picking us up at 7:30 tonight to go for a meal to celebrate the takeover. And he says, we're going to celebrate someone else, son. I says, what else? He says, I've just passed my HGV test yesterday. And I says, really? And he says, yeah, for the 70th time. He's 86-year-old. He's just passed his HGV test for the 70th time. I don't think anybody in the country will have done what he's done. How many people could do that? And that's where I want to spend my time. I want to spend the time with people I loved. And I do have a lot of gratitude for people, but I think it's time for me to bow out. I think, you know, with everything I've done, I just think I've come to the end. I think I've come to the end of being, you know, I've gate crashed your three amigos. You three have just absolutely, I don't know, opened your arms up to me. You've had me back. I've got massive respect for you. But I think it should go back to three amigos from next week. And I think that I should bow out gracefully because I'm just a fan and I'm no use to anybody, really. I've done what I came to do. You know, part of my work in life was as a competition specialist in the court case. And today, you know, I go on Twitter. I can't handle the number of Twitter letters that come through. I can't handle the DMs. We've got over 14,000 people on there. I love all the people, but I just can't do it. I cannot listen to idiots talking to us. I'm not the kind of person. I'm very straight and I'm very sort of honest. I've lived my life just down, you know, straightforward. And now today, I just sit there and think, well, what more is there for us to do? Because somebody once said to us, keep your mouth shut and keep your eyes open. The truth will always come out. And mark my words, the truth will come out. There's a lot of people who are called influential Newcastle supporters. I'd call them arseholes, but a lot of them people are going to eat the words. A lot of them have started to eat the words this week, and people are realizing that they've made fools of themselves. You know, tweets are starting to reappear, and you know that you people here, you three have been abused. You've been abused just for wanting to take over. And you know, I'm sort of an aggressive person. I'm someone who fights my corner and I speak the truth. I look people in the eye. But like Steve Wraith has had horrendous abuse. You know, horrendous. And when I first come on the show, I was told to you know, be careful. Watch Steve Wraith. Like it's seriously, he's just there. He just is what he says he is. And there's one thing about the show. And if you look at the three faces on these tonight, do you think this is set up? Do you think what I'm doing is being pre-planned? Do you think Mitch, Steve and Steve Wraith, do you think I told them today I was going to do what I'm doing now? Not a chance. There's nothing planned in this show. These three are very straight people. You could add a fifth person, Liam Kennedy. Just mega straight people. And all they've done is told the truth. That's the only rule on this show. You tell the truth. And some of the crap you get, you lads take it on the chin. Steve Hastie's had more crap this year than I could tolerate. Honestly, I just couldn't put up with the rubbish he's had. Steve Wraith is oblivious to it because he gets it more than anybody else, and he keeps coming back. And where he's got to run shows called Troll of the Rig. Like Keith Patterson wouldn't do it. Keith Patterson would go and front it up and say, "Come on, if you want to say something, come say it to my face." And I'm not made. I suppose I'm not the kind of person that wants the sideshow or the soap opera that is Newcastle United. I think with me, I love being a fan. And when I go to the game on Sunday, I'm going with my mates, and I'm going to go and see Mickey Edmondson in Wonderbar because he's asked us to go in there. I'm going to go and see people around the town. I'm going to go in Ninebar. I'm going to go in Strawberry. I'm going to go in Newcastle Arms, and I'm just going to be a fan again. And that's what I want to do. And the only thing I'll say to you is people's already approaches already, and people want the truth to come out. And you know, I'll afford myself protection. I mean, I've had people this week trying to say whether they could sell some of the information that I've got. and asking who owns the actual letters, who owns Robert O'Donoghue's letters, which are draft letters. And I just look and I think, what is the purpose of all this? Because I don't want anything. I don't want any money. I don't want any free tickets. I don't want anything. All I want to do is just get respect. I want my family to be left alone. I just want to enjoy myself. I just want to be a Newcastle fan. Like living this dream. I want people to get behind these owners. I mean, you've got the best owners. Justin Barnes said to us today, he said, you've got to let these people do what they want to do. I mean, how humble is that? And people, like, I'm going to shock you all now. Thank you, Mike Ashley. Why? Because you stuck with it. And you could easily have stopped sticking with it. There was an enormous legal bill to pay. So call me an arsehole if you want. But thanks, Mike Ashley, for sticking with it. And thanks, Justin Barnes, for believing in Keith Patterson. And when it does come out, and you do know what was said, and I show you the texts, and I show you the calls, and show you everything else, I've got a record of everything. I'll back everything up by documentary evidence. Then you'll just sit there and realise what a fool you've made of yourselves. You people who said we won't get a takeover, and you people who said that I'm full of shit will find out that you're full of shit. I have got no shit. But I want to thank the other people along the way. I want to thank Liam Kennedy. He's the best friend I made out of this. And I'll be friends with Liam Kennedy for years and years to come. And if you ever look at reporters, they talk about Jose Mourinho being what's his phrase again? He's the gifted one, or the what's
special
his
one.
Special one. Well, if ever you see Liam Kenny walk along the street and there's 10 reporters, just point Liam Kenny out, call him the honest one, because he's the most honest lad you'll ever meet. And if ever anybody deserves a great job or a great number for what he's done for this takeover, it's him, because he could have sold me down the river a dozen times, and he could have blown. He just acted for the club and for me and for the legal case. So,
Keith, can I chip in? I didn't want to interrupt you. I hate interrupting people when they're in the mid-riff, but I got the feeling you've got everything off your chest there. And like you said, none of this is ever planned. This show isn't planned, believe it or not, apart from Troll of the Week and all these other things that we do. That's planned because you send them to us and I put them on the screen. But Keith, I respect your decision, whatever you decide to do, and I understand it because I live the same life. I get this, and I've had this for 25 years. I've had people stabbing me in the back, attacking me, having a pop at me for years, mate. And I've grown to accept that that's part of having your head above that parapet that I always mention. And unfortunately, the politics of Newcastle United is not a pretty place. But I was hoping, and still do hope, that the new owners can grasp exactly what has gone on, what is still going on, and can somehow wave a magic wand and solve it, and if it does happen, it happens. I put out a couple of times this week on my social media that I would like to forget everything in the past and move on. The takeover should welcome a new dawn. I have had a couple of responses. I got, without naming names, I had one particular podcaster come to me and say, I apologize for what I've done. I apologize for anything I've said, and we've moved on. Will we be best mates? Will we be putting stuff on each other's channels? I don't think so. But ultimately, that's now sorted. I think another guy, John, I'm going to go and do his podcast on Monday, John Sinclair. We've all been on Al Waleed's show. We went on again last night. I got Malcolm McDonald to go on Al Waleed's show last night. He got past the 1,000 subscribers mark. We have a good relationship. We're loaded. We'd like to build those relationships with everybody. But please understand, and I know everybody who watches this does understand, it's not us who's the ones who don't want it to happen. It's unfortunately other people. Keith, you've been an absolute legend on the show. You came on to help get the message across about the cat case, to fight a legal battle. We've all had a period where we felt as if we've had enough. And, if you need a couple of weeks off, or you decide that you do want to bow out now, you go with our blessing and our love, because you've been absolutely fantastic. And I think from my perspective, nothing stays the same forever. And, you're always welcome on this platform and always welcome on the show. But you just need to make your own mind up. If you need a bit of time away, go and do it, because the people here have made it quite clear in the chat. And these are the people who control this show, not me. Have all said, don't go. I mean, there has been a couple of tongue-in-cheeks. Can you not just leave your laugh? Can you just leave your laugh for the lookalikes? Well, I mean, we could record that and just use it. But to be honest, it would be better if you were on doing it. But I mean, look, Keith, it's one of those things, mate. It's all got to us. You sound and look exactly how I felt when the takeover went through last week, mate. It all got on top of me last week, and I was a mess. And I managed to pull myself around, as you all know, for Friday's show. But you know,
I think I did 9 months. Under COVID, I did 2,760 hours donating to COVID, just picking people from hospital and taking food out. Then I cooked 1,350 meals and donated them. Then I did 14 months on this takeover, and you know, with my blessing, you know, the people that helped us just thought the abuse was incredible. Gordon took a job and he left us, and I said, Gordon, go, just go. And when he came back from that, and I said, are you back? Are you going to come and help us? And he took one look at Twitter and he said, I'm not getting back involved in that. He said, it's vicious. And I says, it is. It's horrendous. And you can only do it for so long, you know what I mean? So I've been like 23 months volunteering for NHS and then doing this takeover, and I haven't earned in that period. And I'm now getting offers for, you know, property portfolios and things like that. And that's where my brain is taking us, you know, that's revitalized us this week doing that.
Yeah.
But
I've seen a lot of people saying, Steve Wraith, you should have a job at the club, blah, 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 blah. Please remember, I worked at the club under Freddie Shepherd and Douglas Hall. They offered me a job to shut me up when I was doing a fanzine, and I took the fans liaison officer's job. I will never, ever sign a contract for Newcastle United again. I'll put that out there now. I do not want a job with Newcastle United. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing, very happy being an actor, very happy being a writer, very happy now doing the podcast, to be perfectly honest. And when you sign that contract for Newcastle United, whether you're a player, whether you're a part of the media team, whether you're somebody who essentially, you know, was a fans liaison officer like me, you lose the right to speak, to talk about Newcastle United. You have to toe the party line. And I am afraid, I've always been opinionated. I'm a fan and I love the club, and I've got a heart which rules the head, I'm afraid, as far as Newcastle United's concerned. And although approaching my 50th year, now I wear glasses, I have become a bit more mature. I can still, like everybody else, go off on one about Newcastle United, whether it be the manager, whether it be a bad performance about a player, and that's what I want to be able to do. So anybody saying you should get a job at the club and, you know, blah 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 blah, just to put it out there. And for those detractors who saying you shouldn't get a job at the club, I've got no intention of even approaching the club for a job. So please bear that in mind and pass it on. I've got no intention of doing that. So
I'm not the same as you, Steve. I mean, if they phone me tomorrow and ask us to play on Sunday, I'm playing like, and I'll lick anybody's ass in that director's blocks to get a game on Sunday. So I'm not quite as strong as you. But as far as this goes, I just think, you know, I've agreed to do a podcast with a load of lads on Tuesday. I've agreed to do one with Alloa Lead on Wednesday. But it feels right now to let the three amigos start again, and it feels right now. It feels right now. You know, if it changes, like, I appreciate what you've just said, and it's brilliant. But the way you treat us, and more so the way the fans have treated us, the people on here, you know, like I come on here, and it's whether it says Rachel or Julie or Yano or Trolls, you know, Life Goals, it's Dave Harrison, it's just names that's come part of me, and you know, I thought I'd have 50 people on Twitter, and it's 14,000 and climbing, and it's just all too much. It's just I just want to be a fan again. So when I go on Sunday, I just want to be in that ground, and I just want to, like, take it all in. But I don't want people to have expectations of us. I don't want people to think I've let them down or think I've said something wrong or things like that. So for
have a read of the comments. Have a read of the comments when this show finishes, and you'll see exactly how people feel. Listen, this is an online decision, a live decision, and you know, I'm happy to accept that. And one guy who's delighted is Joe. He just says, "Get off."
Amy want to make it the Four Amigos again.
He's even done his hair. And what we're going to do is, because he's sitting there and he's just got in from work, we'll bring Andre in as well. Stato is here as well. Welcome, lads. How are you?
Evening, gentlemen.
Good to see you, Andre. Can you hear us?
Hey, guys. Hello. Yes, I'm just back.
Have you sobered up from your drunken exploits last weekend, lad?
The head was hurting for a couple of days, but it's all good now. But today I'll be out celebrating 1 week since the takeover happened. Yeah.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay. Well, we've got half an hour left. We've obviously got a lot to talk about, and emotions are running high because of Keith's announcement tonight. And we do wish him well. He's been an absolutely great force in this takeover. And just one letter is a joke to us, but he's been a vital part of this whole takeover, and he deserves every bit of happiness and every bit of thanks from anybody who bumps into him in those bars on Sunday. If you get a chance to buy him a pint, buy him one, because he deserves the bloody thing. But yeah, we're going to start looking ahead to some football now. And because we've got our two residents here, all I've got to do is play the music and not cue videos. So I am delighted. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with Stato first, and then we'll go to Toon Tipster. So cue the music for Toon Stato. Great stuff, Andy. Good to see you, mate. And obviously, Newcastle playing Spurs. Give us the lowdown.
You know what, guys? I wanted to do a stat of the balance under Mike Ashley, like all the games under these 14 years, how many wins, how many draws, how many defeats. Then I started digging into the data, and then I realized that the guy doesn't deserve it. I said, you know what? There's not much to remember these past 14 years. One great season under Pardew. But still, I looked into Steve Bruce's records since he anyhow made it to the game on Sunday for what would be his game number 1,000. And actually, his record overall is pretty decent. 376 wins, 254 draws, and 369 defeats, which makes it a 38% win record. Of course, not all the games are in the Premier League. He has games in the Championship and in League One. You know as very well that Newcastle are winless this season, 7 games without a win. We are also the team that has conceded the most goals, 16 so far this season. The good thing is that the new era on Sunday starts against Tottenham, who are our favorite opposition. 22 wins in the Premier League against Tottenham, only against West Ham we have the same number of wins. Now, unfortunately, the last home win at St. James's Park was back in May 2016, 5-1 under Rafa, that legendary game. But anyhow, the signs are good, and I think that we should be optimistic. I can also say that Tottenham have 4 wins this season, all of them by 1 goal. This might be interesting for Toon Tipster. All their wins are by 1 goal margin. While Tottenham have played the last 18 games that they have played against teams in the relegation zone, they have lost only once, against Newcastle back in August 2019, when a certain Joe Linton opened his goal-scoring account for the club. And I wanted to round it off that we should pray that Callum Wilson plays on Sunday. Without Callum Wilson, Newcastle has won only 2 out of 16, so we badly need him back in the team. And I just wanted to remind people that the Ashley era started with a Charles Nzogbia goal, and it finished with a Jeff Hendrick goal. So I'm very curious who scored the first Newcastle goal in the new times.
Interesting stuff, mate. Interesting stuff. It's a big game. It's a game made for Joe Linton, I guess. But let's find out where he falls in the betting stakes this weekend with Toon Tipster. Big Joe. How are you, mate?
No, lads.
Good
Talk
to
about
see
setting us up to fail there after our Keith's out speech. It's not going to seem that funny now, really, is it, to be honest? And by the way, Patterson, if you go, where do I go for all my material? So think on yourself as you'll get. Mind you, in saying that, Stevie, if there's a place on the pitch, mate, every cloud and all that. Anyway, never mind what this lot said at the top of the show about this new lot being in charge of our football club. The promised land, he said. This is the takeover we want, he said. Well, here we are. They've been in charge for a whole 7 days. We've still got wheelie bins at the training ground. We've got no new stadium, no new manager in the dugout. Paul Pogba still plays for Man United. Absolute rubbish they are. Well, I'm letting you know that after this, I'm starting up a new campaign simply known as So Me. It stands for Stavely Out, Maurice In. I've wrote a letter with my new crayons to the Northern League. All I've got to do is go on social media for the next 18 months and lie to a load of gullible supporters about what the future's going to bring. I'll do a protest at Dunstan Town Hall, get Q-Tip to make me a couple of NAF T-shirts, and then Henry will be revealed in 2026. Twitter's going to love me. What could possibly go wrong, Keith? In a week where I've had nothing but chew and heartache from all angles, I can't wait for a pint or 10 on Sunday with the Durham Daft lads. I'm going to sit back and watch England's #1 striker on the park. That's right. I've heard that Dwight Gale might get a run out. Mind you, speaking of the Durham Daft lads, I'll be ending me week like I've spent the rest of it surrounded by pricks. That's right. I had me flu jab and me COVID booster yesterday. I must admit, it's not been all bad. My hair's grown back. Matters broke 42,000 followers and over 15,000 people watched us last week. I can't think of what was different about last week's show. Can you, Holly? I've heard lots of positivity around for a Newcastle win on Sunday, but as the merchant of doom, I've got to say, unsurprisingly, the bookies disagree. The Mags are 12-5, so if you fancy it, get your money on them. The draw is 13-5, and Tottenham are just under evens at just over evens at 11-10. There's money to be made for us, whatever the result is. As Andre said there, I don't think goals are particularly fancied, with negative odds if you fancy over 2.5, as well as both teams to score. So, in light of that, get your money on 4-4 at 150-1. 1-0 Newcastle, 12-1. 2-0, 20-1. And 3-1 for that drunken fella who's there celebrating Mitch's 65th birthday. 3-1 is 25-1. Me head says 1-1 at 13-2, but me heart says 4-2 to the black and white at 66-1. Why not, Keith? Great to see Wilson back, and he's second favourite to score any time at 5-4, behind Harry Kane, who's 4-5. Joe Willock is 13-5, and the skipper, if he's back, is 14-1. For the food bank, Mr. Hasty, Callum Wilson will be back, so the fiver's on. But because I'm having a Stavely Out Maurice In party, me and War Flags, I'm keeping ASM in as well at 3-1. Toon Tickle this week, I've mentioned it before to no luck, but if it doesn't happen this week, it never will. Newcastle, Middlesbrough and Sunderland all to win 10-1. The Newcastle manager odds have all changed this week, with Frank Lampard now rocketing into the favourite spot at 4-1. Unai Emery has come from nowhere at 5-1. Rodgers, Martinez, and Zidane are 8-1. Favourite is 9-1, and last week's favourites of Conte and Gerrard are out to 10. It just shows you, Mr. Hasty. You put it on Twitter and people will listen. Bet safely, everybody. Love you loads. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff, as always.
Well done, Joe.
Well, there's a bet or two in there, but as he says, and we always say, please bet safely. Okay, we've had a little bit of doom and gloom before we get the lads' predictions, and it's great to have Andre on for this as well. We might have a little bit of a different laugh. You've got to unmute for this because there's plenty of laughs. It is, of course, everyone's favorite section, and that is to look alike. Inundated with these this week. And Joe is certainly becoming a target, I would say, on this particular thing. Okay, he did wear something.
Do a better job.
Yeah, he could do a better job. So there it is.
This explains a lot, yeah?
Poorly, Charlie.
This one was sent to us. I can't remember who sent us it, but that is Michael Hunter, who's a pro boxer, and Joe Linton.
Wow.
That's uncanny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uncanny that one.
He packs a better punch.
He does pack a better punch. This one was Mark Byers. Look alike. Well, that was pretty good. Those girls always crop up, don't they, on that Sunderland video. But yeah, pretty good that, Mark. Thank you, mate. This one was from Andrew, I think he says. Recent trip to Liverpool, Albert Docks. I knew I'd bumped into Steve Hasty. I nearly choked on that one. Dad Brown.
There's the main man there. There he is.
Two proper twats.
Be able to see each other on Sunday, I'm sure. Harry.
Just the one on the left looks stupid.
Your ball does pay, Keith.
Who's this guy on the right?
Class.
I've got no idea who that guy is. He's clearly an American actor, but yeah, Liam Kennedy getting one in there as well. This one, Keith being targeted by trolls, and me in 30 years' time. That's me now with my glasses. Definitely. Okay, we've got this one from Tim. That's pretty good as well. Although could have done without the hand on the head just to get the full effect there. But definitely, Joe's definitely been flavour of the month. Tim did send this one as well. So Keith, you're getting it in the neck, and wearing that bald wig's definitely done it. Okay, this one's from Arnold, Sean Locke, and Ralph Rangnick.
Fantastic.
Very, very good. Very good. There's a theme here, Steve.
I knew this.
And
that was like.
Here's Albert. Doesn't quite get the idea of lookalikes. He goes, Steve bins the soap to find a cheaper way to wash his head. This was sent in as part of the lookalikes, which I found bizarre. Then he starts to go back into his usual form. Camilla Parker Hasty and her secret love child. And then again from Albert, a message from Her Majesty Mr. Hasty to Keith Patterson. An request to remove every bald midget's head. Clearly aimed at me. Before and after Botox. Thanks, Albert. You certainly keep us tickled with these. Colin Wilson, Mitch, this has to be a lookalike.
Yeah.
Now that was pretty.
It is as well.
That was that guy who got up and started singing, wasn't it? It did the rounds on Twitter this week. Al Walid sent this in of himself, which is good. Thank you for that, Al Walid. And this one was inboxed to me by me mate Andrew. He says, Terry Stone, Keith Patterson lookalike. It's another actor, like.
Terrible.
That's another actor, Keith. You should be.
Better than Bruce Willis, isn't it?
Arthur Daly, he sent this. He says, absolute belter is Steve Hasty. Clinton back teeth. Says, get it out on Friday. People go off his nut with laughter.
Look at Hasty's face.
Somebody messing around on Snapchat goes, is it Noel Edmonds or Steve Hasty? It's now not even lookalikes. It's just people messing about. Richard Houghton says, Mr. Magoo. You'll have to wear a green coat, Keith. This one's John Gibson, an old man from Up movie. That was pretty good. coming down into the final ones. Steve Hasty, after a wild night celebrating last week.
Hasty's face.
This one was pretty good.
Denzel.
Denzel Washington and Pete Daly. I'm sure Pete Daly's gonna like that one. Like you'll go getting a little bit of recognition. That was from Nick. Two look-alike, Daniel Levy before and after the takeover. And the last one, the winner. This is the one I was sent. That's one of those Twitter things. The woman's picture on there, Steve Hasty. Keep them coming in. They're always funny. And I'm sure Keith, if he's free, he'll probably pop on at some point just to laugh at Steve Hasty. But thanks very much. That's the end for our Tuesday 11. Good stuff. Where we always manage to fit in one of these. Couple of good ones, but I thought this won it. Oh, fuck off yourself. Always want to be relevant. Effing knobhead. Yeah, thanks for everyone. That's pretty much covered all boundaries there, I think. But you have definitely won. Troll of the week this week. There you go, Julie. Gary says, does anyone think Andre looks like Danny McGrain? Who's Danny McGrain?
I don't know.
Played for Celtic.
Danny McGrain for Celtic. Oh, maybe. Yeah,
Celtic years ago, yeah. Aye.
All right, we've got 10 minutes left. We've had the predictions. We've had two tipster. Keith, Newcastle United versus Spurs. Start of a new era. Steve Bruce's 1,000th game. How do you see this going, mate?
I think we'll win. I don't have anything to do with Bruce, but I think the crowd, I think the occasion, I think that it's going to be mind-boggling. I think the ground's going to lift off like it's never lifted off for years. I think the previous owners will be there. I think they've been invited by the club. I was talking to Justin today. I think they'll be at the game, and they're looking forward to seeing you outside working in the phone boxes. So it's so I think the Justin Barnes will be at the game, and I'm pleased they're there, and everybody's just wanting Newcastle to win, and I think it's going to be one of them games where it could only happen at our club. So I'm making a really bold prediction. I think it'll be Newcastle 3, Tottenham 1.
Wow, 3-1. Okay, there's your prediction. Steve, are you as confident? Can you see Newcastle coming away with 3 points? We've not managed to do it all season.
Well, if there's ever a day when you're going to do it, it's going to be Sunday. In terms of confidence, you know what? Do we want to say it's written in the stars? Is that what we want to talk about? Is that the phrase we should use, or am I pushing me luck here? Yeah. It would be typical Newcastle United to put on a performance. It'd be ironic given the players. I mean, we've talked the number of times people have said that the pressure of the takeover has affected the players. You know, that was a theme that ran through certain sections of the fan base and certain sections of the media and certain sections of people within the football club as well. And now that's all gone, then the players should be able to perform. And so with that in mind, I'm expecting them to perform. I'm expecting them to put on a display. I'm expecting those players to justify and show why they're earning 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 pounds a week. You know, I'm expecting them to show why they have long holidays during the international break and what good it's done to them and how well they can perform after those nice long breaks that they've had. And the same with the coaching squad as well. The same with the coaches and the manager. You know, now that the pressure's off, let's see what you can do. Let's see what you can perform in front of 52,000 people in what can only be described as what will be the finest atmosphere that any of you have ever experienced in your football life. And that includes Steve Bruce at Old Trafford, you know, where he was worshipped as a Geordie. So let's put yourself out there, lads. Show us what you can do. You know what? If they want to keep their jobs, this is the perfect opportunity. And it's also the perfect opportunity to be in the shop window and show other people what they can do as coaches, as managers, and as players. That's the sort of pressure I'm putting them under now, because quite frankly, that's what I'm expecting. And that's what the new owners will be expecting. They'll be expecting a lift. They talk about that 1%, that 2% that you get. Right, well, let's see it. Let's put their money where my mouth is, or get them to put their money where their mouths have been for God knows how long. We'll draw 1-1. We'll draw 1-1.
1-1, okay. Well, I'm going for a 1-1 draw. I'm not as confident as Keith. I've got to be perfectly honest. I do feel a 1-1 draw is achievable. I don't think Spurs are knocking down any houses at the moment. They're in a transitional period with a new manager as well. Harry Kane, I think it's a knocking bet that he's going to get his first goal. He's been going through a barren spell, and I think he'll be the man to get the goal for Spurs. But Newcastle have got players coming back, as we know. So, hopefully Callum Wilson and the rest of the team will be up for this. And there's one thing for certain. The atmosphere at the weekend is going to be second to none. It is certainly going to be a celebration. I think the fact that it's a 4:30 kickoff is great, because everybody will be, out in those bars a little earlier, going along, getting ourselves in a good mood for a good old sing song. And I think it's going to be a fantastic day. I really do. And no matter what the result, I just genuinely think that we should concentrate on supporting the team, not singing anything about Mike Ashley. We don't need to. He's gone now. And certainly not getting on Bruce's back. Unfortunately, I think people will. I think there will still be a massive resentment towards Bruce from sections of the supporters. And I do think that will be, if Newcastle go goal down, I think people will start getting on the case. And look, this is all part of football. I think what we've seen today, with regards to the consortium of more or less backed Bruce, they've given him this opportunity. They haven't gone in and kicked him straight out. Having listened to Steve Bruce's press conference today, I do feel that he's pretty much, stuck two fingers up with them. If you want my honest opinion, I think he's come back out and, he's attacked the media, and I just think he could have been a little bit more conservative, but he chose to go on the offensive against the journalists again, and that's not the best thing to do if you do really want to keep your job. But, it's one of those things. I do fancy a 1-1 draw. That's where I'm going with this today. Andre, what about you?
Well, you guys said it. I expect a great atmosphere on Sunday. Actually, I regret not being at the stadium for this game. I expect really the crowd to galvanize the players and everybody will be playing for a new contract. Everybody is playing for their job, basically. Everybody knows that next year they might not be there. So I really expect some players to play out of their skin, not only on Sunday, but until the end of the season. And honestly, I expect us to win. Also because it's Steve Bruce 1000 game, and I don't think it will be his contribution, basically, but I think that it's going to be, he can bow out in style. It might be his last game as a Newcastle manager as well. So a win on Sunday for the fans to mark the occasion, and for Bruce to go with his head held up high. I see it as a win for us, and I see it as a high-scoring game, to be honest.
Wow, high-scoring game. Interesting. Good stuff. Okay. Mitch, will come to you, because I know your battery is running out.
Aye, scanning the game. Last software update was a bit shite. Anyway, firstly, I'd just like to wish my mum and dad happy anniversary, because I haven't had a chance to tonight, and I wanted to get that out. It's a double celebration for us in October always, so I just wanted to say happy anniversary to my mum and dad, and thank them for everything you do. The game, if you can't be inspired by this takeover, if you can't be inspired to raise your game, you're in the wrong game. And if we don't see a dead cat bounce from this, I'll be utterly disappointed. Is an understatement. I think we will see a dead cat bounce. I think we're going to win by the odd goal in 3. And I think just purely on the wave of emotion and nothing else. And then that at least gives us a chance to move forward and see where we go. But no, if you can't be inspired by what's happened in the last week, then you've got no business being at the club, if you ask me.
Happy anniversary as well from me to them, and I hope you have a great day. Over to you then, Joe, for your prediction.
I think the lads are right. I think I expect 10, 15, 20% more than we've seen, Steve, and Mitch has just hit the nail on the head. If we can't get up for this, I don't know what we can get up for. Without being the merchant of doom, as I said earlier, there's a real nagging doubt though in my head, because we've still got the same footballers, and if you've all been watching the same game as me, we're not very good. So yes, I hope that I'm being polite there, Andrew. I hope that the performance is befitting of the occasion. I'm going to enjoy myself no matter what, as I think everybody else is on Sunday. But I've just got this nagging doubt, Steve. We're just not very good. So I said it in my predictions. 1-1 is the best that I can hope for. Yes, my heart says I'd love to see us win 3-0 and just absolutely go to town on them. But we're not very good. So I'll take a point and we'll start next week.
Okay, I appreciate we might lose Mitch because of his battery, so I'm going to come to him first. Keith disappeared. I guess he's very emotional tonight. He clearly, I don't think he'll rejoin the stream. He's been fantastic on the show. I've got to be honest. I didn't know him at all. Obviously, I knew who he was with regards to the CAC case, and that was it. Steve Hasty spoke very highly of him. We got him on the show as a one-off, and he's been here ever since. He's clearly emotional. He's clearly upset about the things that have been hurled at him on social media. It's not the world he's used to. He's been successful in his own life, and I just really want to go around the rest of you and just give a little a little memory or just a little comment about the situation with Keith before we're finished, lads. So Mitch, over to you.
Yeah, look, I've known Keith since the early days of NUFC. When he did well, it's not very well, it must be said, but I did know him. I've always said on here that Keith's style is not my style. If he's a sledgehammer, I'm a scalpel. We do our damage in different ways. But he's always been straight and up front. And some people like that, some people don't. I get that some people don't gel with him. However, to belittle the work he's done is a real underestimation of what that guy's put in with the CAC case, and belittles the CAC case and its relevance to the takeover. Everybody seems to be desperate to say, well, we supported this and that means we're the winners. We're all the winners. We've got the takeover we wanted. And the pressure came from a number of different sources. However, it's quite clear to me, talking to the people that I speak to, talking to the people who have connections at the Football League and the Premier League level, that there was information that was going to come tumbling out of that case that would eventually have hurt the Premier League exceptionally badly. And I'll tell you something that's happened recently. Nothing says more than anti-competitive behaviour than after they've got rid of a court case that would have revealed their anti-competitive behaviour, having a meeting that excludes Newcastle United from everybody else in doing a little bit of anti-competitive behaviour. And that's the tip of the iceberg. And I know from conversations I've had with Keith privately, with information that he's gratefully shared with us in the past, and what he could and where he could, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that the CAC case is part of why they've eventually struck the white flag out, and getting the jurisdiction passed was key. And so to belittle that disappoints me. It disappoints me that it becomes point scoring and we were the winners and us, and then it's ridiculous, and this all needs to end now. And so I can understand where Keith's coming from. It upsets me to see him so upset tonight. That's not right at all. But he's what the work he's done should not be belittled. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, agree. Steve Hasty?
Keith's his own man. Keith always has been his own man. Keith's a lad from Durham, and when Keith gets an idea and he knows that he can take that idea forward, he will, and he did. And for that, every Newcastle fan around needs to be eternally grateful, because without Keith, you would not be sitting at the match on Sunday, worshipping the takeover, worshipping and praising new owners and when they introduced themselves on the pitch on Sunday at 4:15. It was Keith Patterson who brought you that. No word of a lie. I will go to my grave, my dying days, knowing fine well what I know. I've been to Keith's house. I've seen the dossiers. I've seen the paperwork, the mountain of paperwork that he collected that was ultimately handed over to the club. I know for a fact what he did in turning around and persuading the club with Robert O'Donoghue to take this case on. They knew nothing about competition cases, and it was Keith Patterson alone, who convinced them with the help of a probably the finest QC that there is in competition law in the UK, and Robert O'Donoghue. From a personal level, when Keith came on the show, Keith said, as soon as this is over, I'll be gone. I want to go back to being the person I am. And Keith's always true to his word, and that's what Keith's going to do. I hope that he makes guest appearances on the show. I hope that we see him. I know I'll be seeing him before the match. I know that I'll be seeing him probably before every game. Keith will always be a friend, always be a good pal, and always be a true Geordie, because that's what he is. He wears his heart on his sleeve. But believe you me, you could not be in safer hands when you get involved in business with a man like Keith Patterson, and that's been proved. You know what? I don't need to say anything else. What Keith has produced and what we've ended up with says everything you need to know about Keith Patterson. He hasn't died, by the way. He's just, but it's for me, if you don't know now, you never will. And there are people out there that don't want to know, that will not accept. And for them, I feel quite sad, actually. I feel quite sad because in the history of Newcastle United Football Club in years to come, they'll not be able to shake off the name of Keith Patterson, not be able to take that name out of the history of what's happened over the last 18 months. And I just say, think about that, guys. Think about it, you know. I'll buy you a pint on Sunday, Keith, as long as you're going to buy us one back.
Classic, absolute classic. Andre, you've watched Keith from Bulgaria. You've watched and you've interacted with him. You've seen the ups and downs. You're on social media, but you're not as active as probably some of us have had to be. What's your take on Keith and what he's done?
I don't know Keith personally, but yeah, as you said, I've seen him on the show several times and I've listened to what he had to say, and huge respect for him. I mean, he's done much more about what happened than me and thousands of others have done. He wasn't one of us who just watched and waited for things to happen. He took things in his own hands. He actually did something. Whether he contributed or not, it's clear that he did things. Yeah, he moved. He didn't wait. So huge respect for him. And actually, I don't get why fellow Newcastle supporters would turn on someone like him. Like, you might not believe that he contributed. You might not believe that he's the reason for the takeover, but still, you should appreciate the fact that the guy did something. He didn't just watch podcasts or browse the internet, and he deserves a huge respect. And my advice to him is not to pay attention to anything on social media. What I've noticed that on social media, the people who usually attack other people are people with not much of a personal life, not much of a professional life. They're people who usually bored and they just jump on others for fun, totally disrespecting effort that they would never put themselves. So only respect to Keith, and I really hope that that he's feeling okay, and he should be proud of what he did.
Yeah. Well, here. And Joe, you've built up a special bond with Keith. It has to be said, the humour between the two of you has been infectious at times, and I think it's fitting that you have the final word, really.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. What can I say? The superlatives I gave the man, I think we're all everyone can listen to them in last week's show. There was a genuineness about the fella. And when he said that he knew things and he had him for, and he was putting his own money in, don't forget, which is a lot more than other people might have done, I believed him, and I know you lads believed him. And as Steve Hasty said, I can rest forever thinking that we didn't just jump on his bandwagon and we were, is he for real? Is this really going to happen? Does he really meet Justin Barnes and Robert O'Donoghue? You better believe it. The bloke did. He's a great guy, Steve. And I think one of the things that, funnily enough, I texted him there just as he was delivering his speech, and I said, yes, the takeover might be done. Yes, I fully understand, Keith, but why you might be feeling the way you do. But you know what? I like listening to him talk about Newcastle United as well. He's more to us than just the bloke with the cat case. He knows his stuff. He's followed the team for decades. So if Keith's not going to be on the show, if Keith's not going to be around, we'll miss the football crack as well. So fair play to him. Fair play to you, Steve, for giving him the platform. And I know he's eternally grateful for that. I'm knackered now, so I'm just going to have to take the piss out of you, Steve Hasty, I'm afraid. So bring that on next week. But yeah, what can I say, mate? Fantastic fella. And I'll see him on Sunday and I'll get him the second pint as well. No problem.
Yeah, good stuff. Listen, Keith, you have been a godsend. I'm glad we gave you the platform. I'm glad you stuck with us as well. I know you had offers from other platforms to go on. And, you were right. You were right, and that's why we gave you the platform. That's why we gave you the opportunity to speak. And you were a big contribution to this takeover going through. And as I say, lots of people played their part. Ultimately, a takeover would never have gone through, though, if it had not been for PIF and the Rubens and PCP, wanting the club. But the fact that there was a passion, there was a determination from fans, in particular, like yourself, Keith, then that's why it's gone through. We know the truth. I'm sure when Liam Kennedy writes his book, a lot of it will be documented in there, and we look forward to seeing that come out in due course. But Keith, enjoy the rest. Thanks for the contributions to the show, and I'm sure I speak for everybody to say that you'll always be welcome on the show, mate. I'm back tomorrow, 11 o'clock in the morning, with Mick Lowes, looking ahead to the game and taking your questions. And that one will be very exciting, I think. It's the big build-up to the show. We have got a new T-shirt, and it seems fitting to have these two on front of a T-shirt for the food bank. Hashtag custodians. That goes onto my Twitter now, @Steve Wraith. Get your bids in for that T-shirt. And all proceeds, of course, go to the food bank. That's it. Enjoy tonight, whatever you're doing. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock with Mick Lowes. Take care, guys.
Good night.
Critics are